What would you do if the woman who disappeared 6 years ago walked into your charity gala wearing your dead mother's ring with a 5-year-old girl who has your eyes? If you're already hooked, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. This story has more twists than you can imagine, and trust me, you'll be begging for part 2. William Bodden didn't believe in fate. He believed in power. Control. The careful construction of an empire built on fear and calculated risks. He did not believe in the universe conspiring to destroy him with a single glance across a crowded ballroom. But there she was. Susan Dowling. The woman who'd vanished from his bed 6 years ago without a word. The only woman he'd ever let himself be vulnerable with. The only night he'd allowed himself to be William instead of the Bodden heir. She stood near the champagne fountain in an emerald dress that made her dark hair shine. Older now. More confident. Beautiful in a way that made his chest tight. But it wasn't her face that stopped his heart. It was the ring on her right hand. His mother's ring. The sapphire and diamond heirloom that had been stolen from his family estate 6 years ago. The night after she'd disappeared. And beside her, clutching her hand, was a little girl with William's gray eyes. Chapter 1. The Ghost. William Bodden was invisible. Not literally. His 6 feet 3 inches frame and tailored Tom Ford suit commanded attention at the annual Children's Hope Foundation Gala. But the kind of invisibility that came with power. People saw the Bodden name, the family empire, the rumors of underworld connections. They didn't see William. The man who carried his dead mother's memory like a wound that never healed. He was scanning the room for threats, occupational hazard when you ran Boston's most powerful crime family, when he saw her. Susan Dowling. Impossible. She'd vanished 6 years ago. No trace. No forwarding address. He'd looked. God, he'd looked. One night. That's all it had been. A charity event, just like this one. She'd been a volunteer coordinator. He'd been pretending to care about the cause while using the gala to launder money through the foundation. But then she'd laughed at something he'd said, really laughed, not the practiced titter of women who wanted the Bodden name, and suddenly he'd wanted to be someone worth laughing with. They'd talked for hours. About books. About the city. About dreams that had nothing to do with money or power or family legacy. He'd taken her to his brownstone. Made love to her like he was a normal man with a normal life. Fallen asleep with her in his arms, breathing easier than he had in years. Woken up alone. His mother's ring kept in his nightstand, never worn because the grief was too raw gone. He'd torn Boston apart looking for her. Called in every favor. Used every resource. Susan Dowling had simply ceased to exist. Until now. She stood 30 feet away, laughing with an older woman, completely unaware she was being watched. The emerald dress hugged curves he remembered with painful clarity. Her dark hair was shorter now, swept up in an elegant twist. And on her right hand, his mother's ring. The sapphire caught the light as she gestured, speaking animatedly. No attempt to hide it. Wearing stolen property to his family's charity gala like she had every right. William's hand tightened on his whiskey glass. Then he saw the child. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, in a white dress with a green sash that matched Susan's gown. Dark hair in careful curls. Holding Susan's hand with the casual trust of a beloved child. The girl turned to look at something across the room. William's heart stopped. Gray eyes. His eyes. The distinctive Bodden gray that ran in his family for generations. The whiskey glass shattered in his hand. Mr. Bodden? His security chief, Marcus, materialized at his elbow. Are you? The woman in green, William said quietly, his voice deadly calm despite the blood dripping from his palm. Near the champagne fountain. I want everything. Who she came with. How she got an invitation. Where she's staying. Everything. Marcus followed his gaze. The coordinator volunteer? Susan Dowling. She's here as a volunteer? William's mind raced. The audacity. The sheer audacity of walking back into his life, wearing stolen property, with a child who might be. Yes, sir. She's been volunteering with the foundation for 3 months. Excellent references from Seattle. Event planning background. The director speaks very highly. I don't care what the director thinks. William wrapped his bleeding hand in a napkin. I want to know everything about her. Now. Yes, sir. Marcus disappeared into the crowd. William watched Susan laugh at something the older woman said. Watched her adjust the little girl's hair ribbon with tender care. Watched her touch his mother's ring absently, like she'd worn it for years. 6 years of questions. 6 years of searching. 6 years of wondering if he'd imagined the connection, if that night had meant nothing to her. She was about to get answers she didn't want. If you're already feeling the tension, drop a like right now. Comment below, do you think the child is his? Subscribe because what happens when William confronts Susan will blow your mind. William set down his broken glass and moved through the crowd like a predator closing in on prey. Time for the ghost to explain why she was wearing a dead woman's ring. Chapter 2: The Confrontation. Susan saw him coming. 6 years hadn't dulled her instincts. 6 years of running, hiding, building a new life. She could still spot danger from across a room. And William Bodden was danger personified. He moved through the crowd with lethal grace, expensive suit, and cold eyes, every inch the heir to Boston's most powerful crime family. The man she'd fled from. The man whose child she'd raised in secret. The man she'd stolen from to save their daughter's life. Emma, Susan said quietly, crouching to her daughter's level. Remember Mrs. Chin from the volunteer office? Emma nodded, gray eyes, William's eyes solemn. Go find her. Tell her mommy needs to handle grown-up business. Stay with her until I come get you. Don't leave her side. Is it the bad men? Emma whispered. Susan's heart broke. 5 years old and already trained to run. Already carrying the weight of secrets no child should bear. No, baby. Just boring adult talk. Go on. Emma squeezed her hand once, their signal for I love you, and disappeared into the crowd with the practiced ease of a child who'd learned early how to be invisible. Susan stood, squared her shoulders, and turned to face the man she'd loved for one perfect night and run from at dawn. William stopped 3 feet away. Up close, he was even more devastating than memory had preserved. 6 years had added fine lines around his eyes, silver threading through his dark hair at the temples. He looked harder, colder. Except for his eyes, which burned with recognition and rage and something else she couldn't name. Susan Dowling, he said. His voice was controlled, pleasant even. But she heard the fury underneath. What a surprise to see you here, Mr. Bodden. Her voice was steady. Good. Thank you for hosting such a wonderful event. The foundation does important work. Does it? He stepped closer. Tell me, Miss Dowling, what brings a Seattle event planner to Boston? Particularly to my family's charity gala. I relocated 3 months ago. Career opportunity. Interesting. Another step. They were close enough now that she could smell his cologne, sandalwood, and something darker. The same scent that had clung to his sheets 6 years ago. And that ring you're wearing. Family heirloom. Susan's hand went instinctively to her right hand. The sapphire felt suddenly heavy. A gift, she said carefully. From whom? Someone I loved who died. Not a lie. William's mother had died years before that night. The ring was all Susan had taken, and only because she desperately needed it. William's jaw tightened. My mother's ring was stolen 6 years ago. From my home. The same night a woman disappeared from my bed without explanation. The accusation hung between them. I don't know what you're talking about, Susan said. Don't you? He reached out, lightning fast, and caught her right hand. Turned it so the sapphire caught the light. Sapphire center stone. 2-carat marquise cut. Surrounded by 12 diamonds. Platinum setting with the Bodden family crest engraved on the inside. Shall we check? Susan tried to pull her hand back. His grip was gentle but unyielding. There's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, William said, voice dropping to a whisper only she could hear, is if you think I'll let you disappear again. 6 years, Susan. I looked for you for 6 years. Let me go. Not until you tell me why you stole from me. Why you ran. And why, his eyes flickered to where Emma had disappeared. That little girl has my eyes. Susan's blood went cold. I don't know what. Don't insult my intelligence. Gray eyes are a dominant Bodden trait. I saw her, Susan. I saw my daughter. She's not. Lying won't help you. His voice was still quiet, still controlled, but his eyes promised retribution. You have two choices. Come with me now. Voluntarily. We have a private conversation in my office. Or I make a scene, call the police, and have you arrested for theft. Either way, you're not leaving this building until I get answers. Susan's mind raced. Emma was safe with Mrs. Chin. The exit strategy she'd prepared for this exact scenario, car parked 2 blocks away, go bag in the trunk, fake IDs ready, was still viable. But if William called the police, if this became public, Emma would be exposed. CPS would get involved. Questions would be asked. And the people Susan had been running from for 6 years would finally find them. I'll come with you, she said. But the child Emma, she stays out of this. She's already gone with another volunteer. You leave her alone. I'm not the villain here, Susan. I'm not the one who stole from a grieving son and vanished with his. He stopped himself. We'll discuss Emma after you explain why you're wearing my dead mother's ring. He released her hand, gestured toward the ballroom's side exit. After you. Susan walked, feeling his presence at her back like a physical force. 6 years of running. 6 years of protecting Emma from the truth about her father. 6 years of living in fear that someone, either William's enemies or his own investigation, would find them. It had all just ended at a charity gala in the last place she should have come. The universe, Susan thought bitterly, had a cruel sense of humor. Chapter 3. The Truth. William's private office was exactly what Susan expected. Mahogany desk. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Expensive art that probably hid safes and security systems. The polished veneer of legitimacy over a criminal empire. Sit, William said, locking the door behind them. I prefer to stand. I don't care what you prefer. His control was slipping now that they were alone. You stole from me. You disappeared. You've apparently been raising a child who might be mine for 5 years without telling me. Sit down. Susan sat. Not because he told her to, but because her legs were shaking. William poured 2 glasses of scotch from a crystal decanter. Handed her one. Talk. I didn't steal from you. You're wearing my mother's ring. I know. Susan took a fortifying sip. The scotch burned. I took it, but I didn't steal it. Explain the difference. I took it because I needed money. Because I was pregnant and alone, and the father of my child was a criminal who would either use the baby as leverage or get us both killed. The words landed like bombs. William went very still. You knew who I was that night? Not at first. Susan met his eyes. Not when we were talking about Hemingway and laughing about terrible Boston drivers. But later, when you were asleep, I saw the gun in your nightstand. The documents on your desk. The news clipping about the Bodden family shipping empire. She took another drink. I looked you up. Found out exactly who William Bodden really was. Found the articles about your mother's murder. About the investigation into your family's alleged criminal activities. About the bodies that pile up around the Bodden name. So you ran. I was pregnant with a mafia boss's baby, William. What did you expect me to do? Stay and hope you'd be a loving father? Hope your enemies wouldn't use me and the baby as targets? Hope the feds wouldn't try to flip me as a witness? You should have told me. Why? So you could do what? Marry me? Hide us away like your dirty secret? Make us pawns in whatever war you were fighting? I would have protected you, William said, his voice rough. Both of you. Protected us like you protected your mother? The words were cruel, but Susan was past caring. She wore that ring. She's dead. I didn't want Emma to end up the same way. William's hand tightened on his glass, but he didn't throw it. My mother's death has nothing to do with you. Doesn't it? Everyone connected to the Bodden family is at risk. I knew that. So I took the ring, pawned it, used the money to disappear. Seattle. New name. New life. Emma grew up safe. Until you came back to Boston and volunteered at my charity gala wearing the evidence of your theft. Susan looked down at the ring. I bought it back. 2 years ago. Tracked it down through the pawn shop chain, paid triple what I'd sold it for, had it authenticated. She met his eyes. I took it because I was desperate. I kept it because it reminded me of the only night I felt safe in 6 years. Before I knew who you really were. You felt safe with me? The vulnerability in his voice nearly broke her. For one night, she whispered. For one perfect night, I felt like I'd found someone who understood me. Then I woke up and realized I'd slept with a man whose world would destroy everything I touched. Silence stretched between them. Emma, William said finally. Is she mine? Susan's hands shook. Yes. You're certain? There's been no one else. Before or since? She laughed bitterly. Hard to date when you're in witness protection from a man who doesn't know you exist. The truth is out. Comment Emma if your heart is breaking. Like if you think William deserves to know his daughter. Subscribe because what happens next will change everything, and it's not what you think. William set down his glass very carefully. I want to meet her. No. That's not a request, Susan. And this isn't a negotiation. Susan stood. You can have me arrested for theft. You can ruin my life. But you don't get to walk into Emma's world and upend everything she knows because you have a biological claim. I'm her father. You're a stranger. A dangerous stranger. She's 5 years old, William. She doesn't need a mafia boss in her life. She needs stability. Safety. Normal. Normal. William's laugh was harsh. You volunteered at my gala. You came back to Boston. You're wearing my mother's ring in public. That's not the behavior of someone who wants to stay hidden, Susan. That's the behavior of someone who wants to be found. The accusation hit too close to home. Because he was right. 3 months ago, Susan could have taken any city, any volunteer position, any charity foundation. She'd chosen Boston. Chosen William's gala. Chosen to wear the ring. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. Yes, you do. William moved closer. Some part of you wanted this. Wanted me to find you. Maybe because you're tired of running. Maybe because Emma deserves to know her father. Maybe, his voice dropped, because that night meant something to you too. Susan's breath caught. It doesn't matter what it meant. Your world is dangerous. My world is dangerous. But it's also powerful. Wealthy. Connected. His eyes held hers. I can protect you both. Really protect you. Not hiding in Seattle hoping no one finds you, but actual security. Resources. A future. At what cost? At the cost of letting me be part of my daughter's life. And us. The question escaped before Susan could stop it. What about us? William's expression shifted into something dangerous. Something hungry. What about us, Susan? You tell me. Should I pretend I haven't thought about that night for 6 years? That I didn't search for you like a madman? That seeing you again didn't feel like something breaking open in my chest. William. Or should we address the fact that you came back? That you're here, in my city, at my gala, wearing my mother's ring like a brand. He was close now, so close she could feel his heat. Tell me that was all coincidence. Tell me you didn't want to be found. Tell me I imagined everything that night, and I'll let you walk away. You and Emma both. Susan's heart was thundering. I can't. Can't what? Can't lie? Or can't admit you wanted this as much as I did. Both, she whispered. I can't do both. The air between them crackled with 6 years of grief and longing and furious need. Then the office door burst open. Marcus, William's security chief, stumbled in, face pale. Boss, we have a problem. Not now, William said without turning. Sir, the child. Emma. She's gone. Susan's blood turned to ice. What? Mrs. Chin, the volunteer coordinator, she collapsed. Heart attack. By the time paramedics arrived, the little girl had disappeared. We've locked down the building, but... Susan was running before Marcus could finish. William was right behind her. Chapter 4. The Vanishing. Panic tasted like copper and ash. Susan tore through the ballroom, William's security team fanning out behind her. Emma was gone. Her baby was gone. When? Susan demanded, grabbing Mrs. Chen's assistant by the shoulders. The woman was crying, shaking. When did she disappear? I don't know. Mrs. Chen collapsed. Everyone was crowding around, calling 911, and when I looked back, Emma was just gone. Security footage. William snapped at Marcus. Every camera. Every exit. Now. Already pulling it, sir. Susan's mind raced through the protocols she'd drilled into Emma since she was 3. If someone grabs you, scream. If you're separated from mommy, find a security guard. If the bad men come. What bad men? William's hand was on her arm, spinning her to face him. Susan, what bad men? She'd said that last part out loud. I need to find my daughter. Our daughter. And you'll find her faster if you tell me what you're really running from. His eyes were chips of ice. Who are the bad men, Susan? The ballroom lights felt too bright. The crowd too loud. Everything was wrong, wrong, wrong. Your enemies, Susan said. 6 years ago, after our night together, I got a visit. 2 men. They knew I'd been with you. They showed me pictures of your mother's crime scene. Told me that's what happens to women in William Bawden's life. William's face went white. What men? I don't know. They never gave names. Just told me to disappear or end up like your mother. So I took the ring, pawned it, and ran. Her voice broke. I've been running ever since. New cities every few years. Always looking over my shoulder. Always terrified they'd find us. Did they threaten Emma specifically? They didn't know about Emma. I didn't know about Emma yet. Susan's nails dug into her palms. But I knew if your enemies found out about a child, they'd use her. So I made sure no one could connect her to you. No birth certificate with your name. No paper trail. Nothing. Boss, Marcus appeared with a tablet. Security footage. Main entrance. 6 minutes ago. They crowded around the screen. Emma appeared on camera, walking calmly through the front doors. No one was dragging her. No visible threat. But she was holding someone's hand. An older woman. Gray hair. Elegant dress. Face turned away from the camera like she knew where every lens was positioned. Susan's legs gave out. William caught her before she hit the floor. Who is that? Margaret Costas, Susan whispered. She's the one who threatened me 6 years ago. Margaret, William's face transformed from fury to shock to cold, calculated rage. Margaret Costas was at my gala? You know her? She's my mother's sister. My aunt. His voice was deadly quiet. She's been part of the family business for 30 years. She sits on my advisory board. He stopped, pieces clicking together. She was the one who found my mother's body. The implications hung between them. Your aunt murdered your mother? Susan breathed. I don't know. But I'm going to find out. William pulled out his phone, dialed. Marcus, I want every asset we have looking for Margaret Costas. And I want a full background investigation. Every financial transaction, every property, every connection she has. I want to know where she pisses. He turned to Susan. Where would she take Emma? I don't know. I only met her once 6 years ago, when she threatened me. Emma is gone. Margaret is William's aunt. Drop plot twist in the comments if you didn't see that coming. Like if you're desperate to know what happens next. Subscribe because the next chapter reveals why Margaret took Emma, and it's darker than you think. William's phone buzzed. He answered. What? His face drained of color. What is it? Susan demanded. William turned the phone screen toward her. A text message from an unknown number. A photo. Emma, sitting in a chair, looking scared but unharmed. Behind her, the distinctive wallpaper of a room Susan recognized from the Bawden family estate's historical photos. The room where William's mother had been murdered. Below the photo, you have something I want. I have something you want. Let's trade. She's at the estate, William said. My mother's old study. The crime scene. What does she want? Susan asked, though dread already told her the answer. William's phone buzzed again. Another text. The ring. And the truth about what really happened 6 years ago. You have 2 hours. Come alone, or the girl learns what it feels like to be a Bawden woman. Susan looked down at the sapphire on her hand. Suddenly, the ring felt less like a keepsake and more like a target she'd been carrying for 6 years. What truth? She asked. What really happened 6 years ago? William's expression was granite. I don't know. But I'm going to find out. We're going to find out, Susan corrected. That's my daughter. Our daughter. It's too dangerous. I don't care. Susan grabbed his arm. I've spent 6 years protecting Emma alone. I'm not stopping now. We do this together, or I go alone. William studied her face. Saw the steel beneath the fear. Together, he agreed. But Susan, if my aunt killed my mother, if she's been playing me for 6 years, if she's threatened my child, his voice dropped to something that made Susan's blood run cold. There won't be enough of her left to bury. Susan should have been horrified. Instead, she felt something that terrified her more than Margaret's threats. Relief. Because William Bodden, crime lord and dangerous man, was exactly what Emma needed right now. And what Susan needed too. "Let's go get our daughter," she said. William's hand found hers. "Let's go get our daughter," he echoed. And Susan realized with crystal clarity, whatever came next, whatever truth waited at the Bodden estate, whatever Margaret wanted, none of it mattered as much as the little girl with gray eyes who'd been taken because Susan had dared to come back. They'd get Emma back. And then Susan would finally learn what secret was worth murdering a mother, threatening a woman, and kidnapping a child. The ring on her finger suddenly felt like it was burning. Chapter 5. The Estate. The Bodden estate loomed against the night sky like a gothic nightmare. Susan had seen it in photos during her desperate research 6 years ago. But pictures didn't capture the oppressive weight of old money and older violence. The mansion was beautiful and terrible, all stone facades and sharp angles and windows that watched like eyes. William's hand was steady on her back as they approached the front entrance. "Stay close to me. Do exactly what I say. No arguments." "What's the plan?" "The plan is we get Emma back alive." His jaw was tight. "Everything else is secondary." They'd come with backup, Marcus and 6 of William's best men positioned around the perimeter. But William had insisted on going inside alone with Susan. Margaret's message had been clear: come alone, or the girl pays. "She won't hurt Emma," Susan said, trying to convince herself. "She's using her as leverage. She needs her alive." "My mother was leverage too," William said quietly. "Until she wasn't." The front door was unlocked. That should have been the first warning. The second was the silence. No guards. No security system beeping. Just the oppressive quiet of a house holding its breath. "Margaret." William's voice echoed through the marble foyer. "I'm here. I have what you want. Let Emma go." Nothing. They moved deeper into the house. Through halls lined with family portraits, generations of Boddens staring down with William's gray eyes. Up the grand staircase with its bloodstain on the 7th step that no amount of cleaning had ever removed. Susan's mother had been found there, they said. Pushed from the 2nd-floor landing. Her neck broken from the fall. The police had ruled it an accident. William had never believed it. Now he had proof it was murder. They reached the 2nd-floor hallway. At the end, the study. The room where William's mother had kept her private office. The room where, according to the text message, Emma was waiting. The door was ajar. Lamplight spilled into the dark hallway. William moved in front of Susan. "Stay behind me." They entered the study. Emma sat in a high-backed chair, ankles and wrists bound with silk ties. A gag in her mouth. But alive. Aware. Her gray eyes went wide when she saw Susan. "Emma." Susan lunged forward. William caught her. "Wait." Because Margaret Costas stood behind Emma's chair, one elegant hand resting on the little girl's shoulder. In her other hand, a very small, very deadly pistol pressed to Emma's temple. "William," Margaret said pleasantly. "Susan. So glad you could make it. You're early. I appreciate punctuality." She looked exactly as Susan remembered. 60s. Perfectly coiffed gray hair. Expensive dress. Cold eyes that smiled while plotting murder. "Let her go," William said. His voice was ice. "Whatever this is about, it's between us." "She's 5 years old." "She's a Bodden," Margaret corrected. "That makes her my concern. Just like her grandmother was my concern. Just like you were supposed to be my concern, before you grew into this stubborn, inconvenient version of your father. You killed my mother." "I did." No remorse. Just cold admission. She was going to destroy everything. Going to the FBI with evidence about the family business. Threatening to dismantle our empire because she developed a conscience. Can you imagine? After 30 years of living off blood money, suddenly Catherine Bodden wanted to play saint. Susan's nails dug into William's arm. Emma was crying behind the gag, tears streaming down her face. So you pushed her down the stairs, William said. And made it look like an accident. I made it look like what it was, a stupid woman who got drunk and fell. The police bought it. Everyone bought it. Except you. Margaret's smile was serpentine. You kept digging. Asking questions. Refusing to let it go. So I needed insurance. Her hand tightened on Emma's shoulder. That night 6 years ago, when you brought home that pretty volunteer, I saw an opportunity. You'd finally let someone in. Finally shown vulnerability. So I arranged a little visit the next morning while you were at your club. Told Susan exactly what happens to women who get close to William Vauden. You threatened her to make her run, William said. To make sure I stayed alone. Isolated. Easier to control. Exactly. A man in love is unpredictable. A man in power needs to be dependable. Margaret's eyes glittered. But then I discovered our dear Susan hadn't just disappeared. She'd taken Catherine's ring. The ring I needed. Why? Susan found her voice. Why do you need this ring? Because it's not just a ring, darling. Margaret's smile widened. It's a key. She gestured to the wall behind William's mother's desk. What looked like solid wood paneling. Catherine's safe. Hidden behind that wall. Contains every piece of evidence she'd compiled against the family. Financial records. Names. Transactions. Everything the FBI would need to dismantle the Baden Empire completely. And the ring opens it, William said. The stone, specifically. Sapphire cut contains a microchip. Technology was primitive 6 years ago, but effective. The safe's biometric lock was coded to that chip. No chip, no access. Margaret's expression hardened. I've spent 6 years trying to crack that safe. Every expert I hired failed. The ring was lost, pawned by a pregnant girl who disappeared into thin air. Until 3 months ago, when facial recognition software caught Susan Dowling at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Heading to Boston. Margaret killed William's mother and has been controlling him for 6 years. Comment villain if you hate her. Like if you're terrified for Emma. Subscribe because what happens next is the wildest twist yet. You wanted me to find her, William said slowly. That's why you convinced me to hire more volunteers for the gala. Why you suggested I personally approve the coordinator list. You put Susan's application in front of me. I knew you'd remember her face, Margaret said. Knew you'd react. Knew you'd confront her and discover the child. The child you'd do anything to protect. She pressed the gun harder against Emma's temple. The little girl whimpered. So here's the trade, Margaret continued. Susan gives me the ring. I open the safe. I destroy the evidence. And you both get to walk out of here with Emma alive. Everyone wins. Except you've already admitted to murder, Susan said. Why would we trust you to let us go? Because I'm family, Margaret said simply. I raised William after Catherine died. Taught him the business. Shaped him into the man he is today. I don't want to kill him. I just need him compliant. Compliant, William repeated. Like a puppet. Like a good nephew who understands that some secrets are better buried. Catherine forgot that. I made sure she remembered, right before she fell. Margaret's voice turned sharp. The ring. Now. Or I demonstrate what happens to Baden children who outlive their usefulness. Susan's hand went to the ring. Started to remove it. William caught her wrist. Don't. She has a gun to Emma's head. She's going to kill us anyway, William said. The moment she gets that evidence, we're all dead. Emma's a witness. You're a witness. I'm a loose end who knows the truth. She can't let any of us leave. Smart boy, Margaret said. Takes after his father. But wrong about one thing, I don't want to kill you, William. I want to break you. Make you understand that defying me has consequences. She moved the gun from Emma's temple. Pointed it at Susan. So here's the real trade. Susan gives me the ring. I let Emma live. And William gets to choose, save the woman or save the child. Just like I made Catherine choose, family loyalty or FBI testimony. She chose wrong. Let's see if William does better. The world slowed to crystalline clarity. Margaret's finger on the trigger. Emma crying silently. Susan's ring warm against her skin. William's hand still on her wrist. And in that moment, Susan understood something crucial. The ring wasn't just a key to a safe. It was the key to everything. to William's mother's murder, to 6 years of running, to Emma's safety, to the truth that Margaret had killed to keep buried. And Susan had been wearing it like a target for 3 months, practically begging to be found. Because some part of her, the part that had come back to Boston, to William's gala, to the exact place she'd fled, wanted this confrontation. Wanted the truth. Wanted Emma to know her father. Wanted William to know his daughter. Even if it cost Susan everything. "I'll give you the ring," Susan said. "But I have one condition." Margaret's eyebrow arched. "You're hardly in a position to negotiate." "I am if you want the ring intact." Susan twisted it on her finger. "I've had 6 years to study this stone. 6 years to understand exactly how delicate that microchip is. One hard knock against marble, and the chip shatters. The safe stays locked forever. Catherine's evidence stays hidden forever." She met Margaret's eyes. "My condition." Emma walks out with William. "Now, before I hand over the ring. You want the evidence destroyed? Fine. But my daughter doesn't watch what happens next." "And what happens next?" Margaret asked. "You and I have a conversation about the real reason you killed Catherine. Because I don't think it was just about FBI evidence. I think there's something else in that safe. Something personal. Something worth murdering your own sister for." The room went silent. Margaret's eyes narrowed. "You're guessing." "I'm not. I've had 6 years to think about this. 6 years to wonder why a woman would threaten a pregnant stranger over a ring. Why she'd spend 6 years searching for it. Why she'd risk exposing herself now." Susan took a step forward. "The evidence against the family? That's just leverage. Insurance. What you really want is something else in that safe. Something Catherine was keeping from you." Margaret's gun hand wavered. "So here's my real offer," Susan continued. "Let Emma and William go. I'll give you the ring. You open the safe, get whatever you're really after, and I walk away. No witnesses. No complications. Just 2 women and a secret." "Susan, no," William started. "Let Emma go," Susan said, not taking her eyes off Margaret. "That's all that matters. Get our daughter out of here. I'll handle the rest." "I can't leave you." "Yes, you can. For Emma." Susan finally looked at him. "For our daughter. Let me do this. Let me protect her the way I've been protecting her for 5 years. Please." The agony in William's eyes nearly broke her. But he understood. Understood that this was Susan's choice. Her sacrifice. Her way of finally stopping running and facing the monster who'd chased her for 6 years. "Touching," Margaret said. "But monumentally stupid. You really think I'll let any of you leave?" "I think you're curious," Susan said. "I think you want to know how I figured out there's something else in that safe. I think you want to know what I know." "And what do you know?" Susan smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I know Catherine Bodden wasn't just compiling evidence against the family. She was compiling evidence against you. Personally. About something that happened 30 years ago. Something that makes murdering your sister look almost reasonable by comparison." The color drained from Margaret's face. "How did you?" 6 years of digging," Susan lied smoothly. She had no idea if there was anything else in the safe. But Margaret's reaction confirmed her guess. 6 years of wondering why you threatened me specifically. Why the ring mattered so much. 6 years of research into the Bodden family history. Into your history. She was making this up as she went. But it was working. "Catherine knew your secret," Susan continued. "Whatever you did 30 years ago. And she was going to expose you. Not just to the FBI, to William. To the family. That's why you killed her. Not for the business. For whatever you're hiding." Margaret's hand shook on the gun. "You're bluffing." "Maybe. Or maybe I found Catherine's backup files. Maybe I've been sitting on evidence of my own for 6 years, waiting for the right moment to use it. Maybe that's the real reason I came back to Boston, not to find William, but to finish what his mother started." The lie hung in the air, beautiful and deadly. Margaret's face twisted with rage and fear and calculation. Then she made her choice. "Fine," she spat. "The girl leaves. William takes her. But you stay. You give me the ring. We open the safe." And then her smile was vicious. "We'll see who's bluffing." She grabbed Emma, cut the bindings on her ankles with a swift motion. Dragged the little girl toward William. "Take her," Margaret said. You have 30 seconds to get out before I change my mind. William caught Emma, pulled her into his arms. The little girl buried her face in his neck, sobbing. Susan, his voice was raw. Go, Susan said. Get her safe. I'll be fine. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. Susan met his eyes, saw the grief and fury and helpless love there. If something happens to me, you make sure Emma knows, her voice broke. Make sure she knows I loved her more than anything. That everything I did was to keep her safe. Nothing's going to happen to you, William said fiercely. I'm coming back for you. I know. Susan smiled. It was probably the last smile she'd ever give him. Now go. Before she changes her mind. William's jaw clenched. But he went. Carried Emma toward the door, their daughter's cries fading as they disappeared down the hallway. Susan stood alone with Margaret and the loaded gun and the lie she'd just told. The ring felt like a brand on her finger. Well, Margaret said, closing the study door. Locking it. It's just us girls now. Time to see if you're as smart as you think you are. She raised the gun. Pointed it directly at Susan's heart. The ring. Now. And then you're going to tell me exactly what you think you know about me. Susan's hands shook as she twisted the ring off her finger. This was it. The moment of truth. Either there really was something else in that safe, something worth killing for, or Susan had just made the biggest bluff of her life. And in approximately 30 seconds, she'd find out which. To be continued. If you're screaming for part 2, drop part 2 in the comments right now. Like this video if Susan's sacrifice broke your heart. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because part 2 drops next week and it's going to blow your mind. What's really in the safe? Will William come back in time? What secret is Margaret hiding? Share your theories below. I read every comment. From wherever you're watching, thank you for being part of our story family. This one's going to haunt you until part 2 arrives. End of part 1.